Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of the Draft Good Players Podcast. Y'all know who it is. It's your boy, Ray G, joined, as always, by my co-host, Keith Sanchez, at the Town Code on Twitter. You can find me at RayGQ. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash that, leave us a rating and review. Let us know how we're doing. We heard from Kyle and Jamie the other day. Keith, we got the floor today on the podcast. I made a mistake in the first episode. I act like this was our thing. I said it's only us, Keith, just us, and that was a lie. You also get Jamie. You're going to get Kyle and the rest of the squad. We're going to rotate people in and out. We're going to have some guests on the show, but we're just talking about good players. That's what we do, whether it's me and Keith, Jamie and Kyle, draft good players. That's what we're here. Fantasy football lens on this thing. Keith, how you doing today, my friend?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I heard we going over the mock draft a little bit, so it's always good to kind of, critique yourself and, get people's opinion live and in flesh, right? You see what you have to say about the mock.
Yeah, you dropped the mock on Monday. This was your first 2023 mock draft. If everybody wants to check that out, hit the link in the description. Go to draftnetwork.com. Check that out. From Keith, his 1.0 first one dropped this past week, and there were a lot of good picks here, Keith. But we're only going to focus on one position today. I want to talk about the position that seems like everybody in fantasy football wants to get right, and I mean, you're wearing the LSU hoodie today, and it just so happens that two of the best young receivers in the game went to that school, and everybody's trying to find the next Jamar. Everybody's trying to find the next Justin Jefferson, man. And I'm looking at your mock, and I'm looking at some of these wide receivers that you have early, and I'm thinking, yo, these is good players, but how good are they? So just from a receiver position, Keith, let's just talk about the position. No players, no 23, no 22. Just, I've got a type, right? You know the song Ray Sherman, I ain't got no type. I got a type. I got a type when it comes to receivers. I like athletic receivers that have the ability to create after the catch. I'm a yak guy. I love yak receivers. And then I like big body guys. I like guys that maybe you look at them aesthetically and it doesn't look like they're separating. It doesn't look like, but they're just physically imposing. The Brandon Marshalls of the world, the Drake Londons. I like those big, just dominant receivers. The Calvin Johnsons, who, I mean, those are unicorn type guys. Yeah. But from just the wide receiver position, what's your kind of type when it comes to the wide receivers, man?
Man, I so from my time at LSU, just to kind of let everybody know, right? I had the opportunity to watch, your DJ Charks, your Justin Jeffersons, your Jamar Chase, Russell Gage. I can probably continue to go, right. As soon as this podcast is over, I'm gonna think of probably 5 other names. But just in that time, route running matters, man, and you have to be a smart wide receiver. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase working on their routes after practice, right? Or working how to get in that blind spot of the defender. And you've seen Jamar Chase do that numerous times, right? Or Justin Jefferson do that numerous times coming out the slot. So I care about route running, creating separation. And then now at that opportunity, can you make that difficult catch, the contested catches? That matters to me, man, because that lets me know you have some type of dog in you, right? Because in the NFL, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a defender in close proximity to you. That's just what it is. And it's those guys that can manage to come down with the football with a defender draped on them. That's the guys that make plays. So it's route running, creating separation, and contested catches. That's 3 things that I definitely look for.
Well, we're going to talk about all of that because one of the wide receivers that you have in this mock really high, there are some question marks about his ability to win, whether that be on the outside, whether that be against different coverages. And we'll get into that right after we talk about Bet Online, man, because Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews on news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even some golf, Keith. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information and live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head to Bet Online today. Use your mobile device. Join today. Make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BLEAV50 to receive 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. And let's start off with talking about the first wide receiver off of the board. Keith, for you in this mock, and we're talking about Ohio State's Jackson Smith and Jig, but you have him penciled in at number 3 overall to the Chicago Bears. And I just want to get this out the way. Is JSN, do you think he is the best wide receiver prospect in this class, or was this more of the fit, the connection to Ohio State and Justin Fields, or through your process, man, do you believe that he is the clear-cut wide receiver 1 in this 2023 class? And if so, what makes him the top of this class?
Yeah, be completely honest with you. At this point, I'm not ready to say either receiver, right, is the best one. This one made sense from a fit perspective and the depth chart. Obviously, they know each other, both coming from Ohio State, and then the spot that JSN wins, right? He wins in the slot. So I'm thinking this: Justin Fields, he needs a go-to wide receiver in the slot, somebody that can win easily for him. Like the slot wide receiver has easily become the tight end position where they
Yeah.
talk about just having that blanket guy, that guy that you can rely on. And I'm like, okay, so what's the best opportunity for Justin Fields to get easy completions? And when you watch JSN, this guy completely dominates in the slot, right? Like
Yeah.
he dominated from that position with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson on the other side. So I thought about this. I like Justin Fields, think he's a damn good prospect. The Chicago Bears are doing absolutely nothing for
Yeah.
him. I was like, you know what? Let me help my guy out, right? Before he becomes one of those guys that's, shipped out of there and the quote unquote bust lead was put on him. So I think JSN gives him the opportunity just to make those, when it's 1st and 10, get it to 2nd and 2, right? Just an 8-yard catch. And then also you talked about run after the catch ability. This is a strong dude, right? And we've seen how important that is with guys like Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is a thickly built guy. Like he has thick lowers, which makes him a hard guy to tackle. So I thought at the slot position, this did nothing but make sense. I was like, okay, let's take this. Let's roll with it. I think it's a damn good fit. The Chicago Bears need it. The Justin Fields need it. And then I was like, you know what? Let's take it and roll with it.
Yeah, man. And he's going to smash this season. There's no doubt about it. JSN with CJ Stroud. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is there. We're excited about him, but he's going to absolutely crush this season. I mean, what did he have last year? 1,600, something like that. He had like 1,600.
1,600, and that was with 2 other first
Yeah.
rounders next to him, right? So now he's the alpha in the room. He's going to have no opportunity but to just continue to get the football, down in and down out. So we may be looking at something like a Ohio State single game receiving record, because I think that's what type of numbers he's going to put up next year.
And when you look at sort of the wide receivers last year, like the top 12 wide receivers sorted by receiving yards per team pass attempt, JSN was right there at the top, 2.82 yards per team pass attempt. The only players with higher metrics in that category than JSN were Jamison Williams, Xavier Worthy, Wan'Dale Robinson, Josh Downs, and Treylon Burks. And then if you filter that out by 2023 prospects, he's number 2, only behind Josh Downs, who had 3.55 yards per team pass attempt, which is insane. He had a 26% weighted dominator rating. The analytics check out for JSN. My question to you, though, Keith, is we're talking about drafting this dude. We're talking about drafting him. We know he's a certified good player. Is this a certified player that you can build an NFL passing attack around, somebody that we've only seen play in the slot? Now, a lot of people talk about Justin Jefferson. Oh, he played in the slot. You go back to the season before his junior year, he played exclusively on the outside, and he had 800-something yards. So I've seen Justin Jefferson be able to win outside and inside, and by all accounts, JSN's not going to play on the outside this year. He's only playing in the slot. Like, is that a cat that you want to build around that can only win from the slot? Or at least let me say this. Just because a player hasn't done something in college doesn't mean he's incapable of doing it at the next level. Let's just say that. It doesn't mean he cannot play a traditional X. But do you have the confidence, based on what you've seen so far, and we got a whole season to watch it, that he can win on the outside consistently?
Yeah, we have to remember Cooper Kupp won a Triple Crown last year as a predominantly slot wide receiver. Like he led the league in that's touchdowns, receptions, receiving yards as a slot wide receiver. And for those who say, okay, well, that's just where Sean McVay put him. If you remember in the Super Bowl, they moved Cooper Kupp to the outside, and that offense stalled. It became stagnant. They couldn't move the football. And then Sean McVay, probably in the 4th quarter, I think, had a light bulb moment. Was like, you know what? Well, let me put him in motion and then kind of give him the same type of look, right? Just from the outside wide receiver, put him in motion, and then allow him to get to that slot position. And then that's when the offense started moving again, and Cooper Kupp was back effective. So yeah, I think the way offenses are designed now, you can dominate from the slot position. And when you think about it, just from a spacing and field perspective, right? That wide receiver always has two options. We've talked about this, Ray. We both football guys. You're a former cornerback in college. What you say was the hardest position was the nickel position, right? Because
Oh,
you don't
God.
have that sideline next to you. You don't have it next to you. So this guy, every rep, he can go two different ways. And
Yeah.
I think offenses and NFL coaches are starting to realize that. And the other way that he go left, right, or he could just go vertical and
Go
take it over
vertical.
the top, and that's a wrap. And that's a wrap. So how many times have we seen those slot phase, those type of concepts to where the guy you 30 yards going into the end zone, boom, the outside receiver runs a quick hitch. Now it's a slot fade, boom, touchdown from the 30-yard line. And I think that's exactly what JSN can
Yeah.
do in the NFL. I think he could be dominant from that
You
position.
hit, bro. Listen, that nickel cornerback spot, and you ain't. It's real, bro. You ain't got
Not for
no help,
everybody.
right? Like,
It is not for
and then
everybody.
normally you can't even get hands on them right away because they're off the line. Like, so they
Yeah.
got a little bit of a running start to kind of get you kind of off balance. You ain't got that sideline protection, right? So
What you
let's
said is that it's that
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 you and
that
everybody out there, when you hear, you know exactly what that means. There's no definition for it, but you know exactly what it means. If I'm like, man, JSN got that, you already know what's going down, right? So let's pivot. Let's go to the Bayou now. Let's go down south and let's talk about Boutte. And for me, early on, right now in my fantasy ranks for 23, he is my wide receiver one. Analytically, what he did from a numbers perspective as a true freshman, insane. I have no question marks about Boutte's speed, 200-meter dash. We've got confirmed times for him. He's got the speed, the run after catch ability. Everything that I've seen so far is he's healthy. He's going to be on the field from week one. No issues about the ankle, the Achilles, whatever he had, which we still don't know what it really was. Maybe you got the inside, but we don't know. I don't know what it was, but he's back on the field and healthy. Big issue with LSU this year. We saw Miles Brennan said he's hanging it up. Is it going to be Jaden Daniels? I think that's what we think it's going to be, is the quarterback position right now. You just look at where the odds are on like receiving yards this year. I think JSN's line, Keith, is set at like 1,400 plus yards, over under 1,400 for JSN. Boutte is sub 1,000. It's like 970 yards. Like, will he even get 900 yards? Can you draft a wide receiver that has never had a 1,000-yard season in college, has only played, let's just give Kayshawn, he plays the whole season. He played what? A year and a half of football, 2 years of 2 years, right around 2 years. Can you draft that dude at number 6? You got him going to Jacksonville here. Is that like, can you do that, man? Can you trust what we've seen so far on Boutte and say, yeah, this dude is still a top 10 pick? 6 is high, Keith. That's high.
No,
Can you take him that high?
That's tough, Ray. You asked me a good question. Because I battled with this because you have to take that into account, right? Like you have to take in momentum, right? Momentum heading into the draft and how teams view these guys, and then what's the perspective around them. And let's be completely honest, like we could shoot it straight. It doesn't look too good around Kayshawn as far as Jaden
Yeah,
Daniels coming over there. Jaden Daniels wasn't a spectacular,
no.
throwing quarterback when he was at Arizona State. So to think that he's going to come to the SEC and now sling it for 4,000 or 5,000 yards, I think that's a bit out of the loop, right? So Brian Kelly, new offense. I'm not completely sold on it, I don't think that it's heavily in Kayshawn's favor to touch that 1,000-yard mark. Now, can you draft him? Yeah, we've seen it done before, right? Like Alabama went with Henry Ruggs. You remember the Raiders, they went with Darius Head-Babe. So if Kayshawn goes to the NFL Combine, puts up a 4.3-ish type 40-yard dash, and he capitalizes on the opportunities that he has. That means that when he gets that quick slant, he has to show the ability, I believe, like in a UCLA game, to take it 75 to where you're just like, you know what? It's undeniable. The scouts can put it on the fact that it's the quarterback and it's not Kayshawn. So he has to just make those special plays, which is extremely difficult. And I'll say this, in the mock draft, this is a difficult position for me to put in because I'm like, man, while the talent is there, I don't know if the production is going to match to allow him to, kind of be that guy. And then I know from a lot of people's perspective, they're going to look at it too. Well, man, Jacksonville, they just went and got Christian Kirk. They just went and got
Yeah.
Marvin Jones, but that's two unproven guys also, right? Like, and you need that third guy to kind of grow to make that trio. When you talk about Kayshawn, you talk about Travis Etienne, and then you talk about Trevor Lawrence, right? Like you always talk about the trio when you talk about the old Cowboys with Aikman, Emmett,
Irvin.
and Michael Irvin. Yeah, so I think you need the same thing. You need that young trio so they can really grow together. So that's why I kind of went with Kayshawn. I think that he can be, but I am definitely this is something I have highlighted that I can see this not turning out
And
that way.
and you think and it's not because, and let's just be clear, it's not because we think
Yeah.
Kayshawn is bad, right? Like that ain't
No,
it's
no.
just it's a lot of uncertainty. Like and
Situations matter. Situations matter.
yeah, and this is a new offense with Brian Kelly. It's like
Yeah.
I don't really know. I've seen Brian Kelly be successful with other receivers. We've seen him do it, during his time at Notre Dame. I think it's going to take him some time at LSU this year. But like you said, when he goes to the
Wait,
combine,
I want to stop you on that too, because that's a damn good point. I
okay.
mean, who was the best wide receiver that Brian Kelly had? Is it Will Fuller?
I was
Right,
going to say Will Fuller. That's
and that's 1 in 10 years, and and Will Fuller was majority a vertical threat type of guy. So that's something to note. Where it hasn't been a bevy of wide receivers, maybe a Chase Claypool, but he was a freak of an athlete more than he
yeah.
was just a pure wide receiver.
And
So
even
I
then,
think
I
that
don't think Claypool had 1,000-yard season at Notre Dame. I don't think he ever had 1,000 yards. I don't think he ever did.
yeah, they
You
don't
know,
do that. They run the football. Like they run the football, kind of grind it out a little bit. So yeah, I think with Kayshawn is definitely is a question mark. It's a
all right.
question mark.
Well, let's talk about this receiver who's starting to get even more buzz. And I don't know if you heard the news, though, Keith, but Nick Saban came out and said, hands down, Jermaine Burton has been the most consistent wide receiver that they have on that team. Over Ja'Cory Brooks, Tyler Harrell has been in and out. He's not 100% apparently. JoJo Earl is hurt. We know Ajay Hall is no longer there. And Nick Saban said it flat out. Jermaine Burton has been the most consistent player, our best wide receiver that we have on the field. His stock is about to go through the roof because he was good at Georgia. Now he gets an opportunity to catch passes from maybe the most complete quarterback in college football in Bryce Young. And you have Jermaine Burton to the Tennessee Titans here at number 14. And here's my thing. Name me a draft where Alabama receiver's not going in round one. I mean, I know that's
It's been a
lazy
while.
analysis,
It's
but
been
that's
a
just
while.
what it is, right? And he's next up. He's going to have every opportunity to ball out. And you got him going to Tennessee, who just spent the first-round pick on Treylon Burks. Kyle Phillips is getting some hype. Robert Woods is there, but he's getting a little long in the tooth. Just tell me quickly your thoughts on Burton and what makes him a good enough player to be drafted in the top half of the in your mock.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I have familiar with Jermaine Burton for a good bit. I believe about a year and a
We don't
half.
know. We don't know. So tell him.
Okay,
Tell
all
him.
right. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So this is intel right here. Jermaine Burton was committed to LSU during the time I was there, right? So I've watched this guy film 1,000 times. Like I know exactly who he is as a football player. I know his football character, what he cares about, how much he cares about being a really good wide receiver. And just watching him, and this is everything we talked about at the beginning of this show, right? When we talked about run after the catchability, we talked about contested catches, we talked about route running. This guy checks all of those boxes. The only box he doesn't check is that he may not be a super elite athlete, right? But when you have those guys that can run really crisp routes and just change things and they're versatile as far as they can line up on a boundary, they can line up at that X receiver, Z receiver, line up in the slot. He can do it all. And so I thought about this. This guy is going to Alabama, like you said, right? He's going to get the target share. It's going to be on his back. He's the most refined receiver that they have. He's playing with a quarterback that can distribute the football to him. Stock, I'm all in on. Like he is going to be the number one wide receiver, and I believe in his skill set. So if you're asking me why I put him that high, unlike we just talked about the Keyshawn Butte situation where we said, man, there's a question mark
Yeah.
and it's not in his favor. I think this situation is in Jermaine Burton's favor as far as him getting a lot of target share and just really raising his draft stock. So that's why, as a surprise name, I have him up here. Now you talk about the Tennessee Titans, right? We're coming off of week one where Malik Willis showed some high level flashes of, okay, this guy, we might have something, right? If Ryan Tannehill don't get it together,
Right.
we have something here. And so I thought about this, like give him another weapon to really grow with. Kyle Phillips, good slot wide receiver, but I don't think he's Jermaine Burton. You allow Treylon Burks to really be your X wide receiver. You can do different things like
Yeah.
your Debo Samuel, but you allow him to be your muscle, right? You allow him to be your muscle, and then you slide Jermaine Burton in there, and you allow him to kind of be your finesse, your finesse guy to really route guys up. And then now Malik Willis, when you talk about the Tennessee Titans for the next 2 years, they have viable weapons to where they can really push the ball down the field and make it easier for Malik Willis to just deliver those passes. So that's why I thought this was a really good fit.
And you have a little more intimate knowledge than I do, but when I watched him at Georgia, and the cool thing that everybody is saying now is, oh, he got that dog in him. But I saw that at Georgia. Like, he was a physical player, right? Like, some of the issues with Burton was little injured in and out of the lineup. But I loved the tenacity, man. I saw it too coming out of high school, right? Like, I'm like, yo, this dude is legit. I just like the way he's physical, fights for everything. I think he's a I don't want to call him like the best technician, but he's really good. Like
That's a really good word for it. That's a really good word, and you have to care about the details, man. I can't tell you
yes.
how many times, like I said, I seen Justin Jefferson working after practice on route running. Just caring about the little minute details. He just didn't become a good route runner overnight, right? Like he put in the work, and I could see Jermaine Burton putting in that same type of work. And I'll tell you this: people view it as two different ways. He won a national championship with Georgia, and then he left, right? But I think that's because he cares about his production. It's like, okay, you're gonna bring me back Stetson Bennett. I don't know what I'm gonna be able to do with this, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, man, I'm gonna go to Alabama because I want to prove to people that in the right situation, I could be a dominant wide receiver. So I'm all in on the Jermaine Burton right now.
Let's get it. Let's talk about Keith, I'm a USC Trojans fan. So I was
Okay.
excited that you have my boy Jordan Addison here at 19 to the Colts. But I'll tell you, I'm a little iffy on the landing spot here, and here's why. I'm very big on Pittman, and you said it. Like, I know they got Pittman, but Pittman is good at what Pittman does. Addison brings something different to the table. When I watched Jordan Addison, man, at Pittsburgh, he reminded, you're looking at the body size and how he moves. He gave me some Devontae Smith type vibes. Like, I'm getting some Smitty vibes, that Slim Reaper vibes. Do you think he's a better prospect than Devontae Smith? Do you think he could develop into that? Or where are you at with Jordan Addison? Because when I'm looking NFL and then, transitioning this to building a dynasty roster, I don't know if I'm looking at an alpha, a dog, a one. Like, I don't know if I'm looking at the one or if I'm looking at a damn good wide receiver too. Like, is Jordan Addison somebody that the Colts can draft and say he's our one? Or let's say the Colts draft him. Is it still Pittman and then Addison? Or do you think that dynamic would shift? Because Pittman is getting close to contract season as well, right? He balls out this year for the third year. They're going to have to pay him. He's only on a 4-year deal. Give me just your high-level thoughts on Addison. Does he have some Devontae Smith in his game? Is it completely different type player? Why are you bullish on Jordan Addison?
Yeah, so I instead of asking is Jordan Addison going to be the one or Michael Pittman going to be the one, think about them as complementary pieces.
Okay.
Right. I thought about when you had Andrew Luck and you had T.Y. Hilton, right? And he was the number one. How many times did we say, like, man, if they only had another wide receiver, like a big bodied wide receiver, a possession guy? So that's what I thought about with Jordan Addison. I'm like, okay, this guy has the speed to take it vertical. He can do the quick game stuff, and then you still have Michael Pittman on the side to be your true X.
Okay.
Your 3rd and 5 quick slant. Throw the ball into him, he gets the first down, and then allow Jordan Addison, he can run your more dynamic route tree. So looking at Jordan Addison's size, I agree with you, right? I had the same questions, like, man, is this dude my number one wide receiver? He's 55 pounds, right?
Yeah, yeah. They say
I,
175. I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it,
yeah,
Keith.
I'm not buying it either.
I ain't buying it.
But I had the same questions, man. And I said, okay, so okay, even if he can't be my number one wide receiver, the NFL, they have 2, 3 wide receivers anyway in any offense, right? Like you want to be able to go 2, 3 guys deep. So I thought that it made a good complementary fit as far as pairing him up with Michael Pittman versus just kind of being Jordan Addison is gonna beat out Michael Pittman. Because I'm with you. I think Michael Pittman is a damn good football player, and he's a body type, a size, and production wise that's very rare in the NFL now. As far as those 6'2", 6'3", big bodied wide receivers, there's just not many of those guys
Yeah.
anymore. Everybody's 6 foot, 185 pounds, right? Something like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought it more of a complimentary type situation. But I said, you know what, this could be a damn good fit. They have a good 1-2 punch. We got to think about Matt Ryan. How long in the tooth is he getting? But if they go get another quarterback, what the Colts do, right? We'll just pick up another veteran guy. He'll have
Yeah.
two viable options.
Well, you're talking about big body wide receivers, and we're gonna get to your last wide receiver of this mock. And it's for my Cowboys,
Uh-oh, they're
baby.
gonna
So
smile. They're gonna
we
smile.
save the best for last, but I'm gonna just be honest with you. I'm very conflicted. I'm very
Okay.
conflicted because I've been burned by TCU wide receivers year after year after damn year, Keith. But you know what? I'm in, baby. I am all in on Quentin Johnston. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. They say you can't get fooled again, but damn it, I've got to do it, man. You can't. You look at this kid, man. 6'3", 6'4", 200 something pounds. It's reports that he got 46-inch vertical jump. Wingspan is ridiculous, and his run after the catch ability to be this big, man, is scary, man. But, a lot of people are going to see that TCU Horned Frogs helmet and think Jalen Reagor, Josh Doxson. They're going to think all these TCU wide receivers, and a lot of them be Big 12 wide receivers that don't end up panning out. What about Quentin Johnston makes him different? Because it's not just you. I think the whole scouting department has Quentin Johnston as, a round one player for the most part, right? Like, I think if we looked at all the TDN scouts, I think the consensus would be he's a round one type player. And I know Joe's high on him. You're high on him. I like him. What about Quentin Johnston makes him this caliber prospect to warrant first round draft capital? And then you throw him in the mix with Dallas, right? That has CeeDee Lamb, that just drafted Jalen Tolbert, that just signed Michael Gallup. Man, I think if they make this move, I think Quentin Johnston's a good shot for him to be the 2, Keith. I think he'd be the 2 behind CeeDee Lamb sooner rather than later, man.
Man, and you ask me, what does he have? He has that dog, right?
Okay.
Like there are certain players when you watch the film, it jumps off it jumps off the tape, right? Like and you can look at athletic ability. Let's stay in the Cowboys realm, right? Was Dez Bryant the fastest wide
No,
receiver on the
no,
field? No. Was he the best route runner? No.
no.
But he had dog in him,
Yeah.
right? Like he gives a damn. He gave a damn about every play, every rep. And I would say this with Quentin Johnson. This is a dude that's fast. He's explosive. He's able to track the ball down the field. He's a good route runner. And for a big guy, he's actually a lot quicker than what people think. And just kind of break down with big wide receivers. Usually just their body anatomy. They're not the quick twitch guys, right? But with Quentin Johnson, he has that quick twitch, like how people love Drake London because like, man, this big boy can move. I think Quentin Johnson has that same type of quickness, if not more, but he also has the down the field speed that Drake London didn't have. And we started this podcast off talking about, the number one wide receiver. This guy has a damn good shot at making a run for it. If the production matches with his quarterback at TCU, he has a shot at it, man. It's his athletic ability. You talked about the jumping 40 inches. Man, that's rare. He's probably going to run a 4.3, 4.4. And just the production, like I can't tell you how many times I watched this guy go over top. So this was my splash pick, right? This was I say my set it off pick of the draft right here. This is my set it off. Like, okay, the Cowboys, they didn't picked up Quentin Johnson, is on from here.
So if you had to say right now, one of these players throughout this college season, we look ahead the pre-draft process and we're sitting around and we're getting ready for the NFL draft. Do you think Quentin Johnston has it in him to propel himself to maybe jump an Addison, jump a Burton, jump a Boutte, and put his name in the mix to be the first wide receiver off the board. Do you think that is a realistic outcome for Johnston this season?
Yeah, and I'll say because of this. We realized that in this draft, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jahan Dotson, they may have been more productive in college and may even had more productive seasons in total. But the NFL told you, like, man, we still care about those big body wide receivers that have the opportunity to be dominant. And then that's why you've seen Drake London, the first wide receiver taken off the board. So I can see the same exact thing type thing happen, right? Like when we're talking about a guy with more athletic ability than what Drake London has, and you can see it on tape. So I could definitely see this guy jumping up. Now it's unfortunate, because he wouldn't be going to the Cowboys unless the Cowboys they have a bad season, which I don't know which way you want to go with that. But
I don't know. Well, another topic we ain't talking about that shit today. We ain't doing that right now.
But he definitely has the opportunity to keep that thing going. And man, he's another guy. Stock up on his ability, yo.
Well, there it is. Keith Sanchez, 2023 NFL Mock Draft 1.0 on thedraftnetwork.com. It will be linked to this video description. I highly suggest you check out the whole thing. I really want to talk about some of these other picks. I want to get into the Dolphins pick, but we're going to save running backs for another day. We wanted to talk some wide receivers today. Keith, appreciate you, man, as always. Everybody that's tapping in, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening through your headphones, make sure you hit a thumbs up button, subscribe, like the content, tap into everything that we're doing over at the Draft Network. Keith, anything you want to say to people before we get out of here?
Yeah, man, go check out the mock, man. Remember just to, leave a comment, talk about it. We have all teams up there. Let me know. I respond back. I don't take any no BS on Twitter though. So if you send me something crazy, I might send you something back crazy. So,
Keith gonna clap. If you send him something crazy, he gonna clap back at you on Twitter. But please check out the mock. We appreciate you listening to this episode. Make sure you go over, use that promo code BLEAV50 to get that 50% over at Bet Online. This show is presented by Bet Online. And for Keith Sanchez, for Ray G, for the Draft Network, Draft Good Players. Always, man. We out of this thing. We'll see you next week. Peace.